When you have students working on collaborative projects, it can always be hard to tell who's done which portion of the work. Other than self-reporting, there's no way to know who actually completed the work. When you have students collaborate using the Google Apps for Education, one way you can check student contributions is to use the Revision History tool. To get to Revision History, you go to File in the upper left-hand corner, and you click on See Revision History. What this does, it opens a new window on the right-hand side that shows you all of the collaborators on the document, and as you click through, you can see who made what edits and at what time. This also comes in very handy if someone accidentally deletes work. You can always restore a revision back to a previous version. So you'll see here that Danielle is highlighted in purple. All of her changes coincide with purple. Katie is indicated by this orange color. Any changes that Katie made now show up in orange. Ryan is this blue color, and there he is again. And Mira appears in this bright pink color. This will allow you to make sure that your students are truly collaborating with each other. If you need to see more revision history, you can click Show More Detailed Revisions, and it'll show you almost minute by minute the changes that were made to the document by different individuals. This can get a little tricky to view if students are working on the document simultaneously, but it comes in very handy to check that all students are working on the document. Let's talk a little bit about the tools that are available to you in Docs, Presentations, and Slides. If I click on the Tools menu, I'll see I have the option for Spelling, Research, Define, Word Count, Translate Document, Script Editor, and Preferences. When I click on Spelling, this is my spell check feature. If it finds a spelling error, it appears on the right-hand side. I can choose to change the spelling error or ignore it. And once it's done, it'll tell you there are no more spelling suggestions. The next tool I want to show you is the Define tool. This opens a new window on the right-hand side. You can use the definition tool in two ways. You can search for a word, and it'll bring you the definitions, or you can highlight a word before you turn on the Define tool, and it'll also bring you back a definition. Another tool available to you is the Research tool. You'll notice that Define is part of the Research tool. If I want to switch to the Research tool, I can either click on Research, or over here, I can change it to Everything. What Google's Research tool does is it allows you to do a search of the internet to find information while you're in your document. There are some limitations to this tool, and it may be blocked in your school district. You'll have to speak to your Google Apps administrator to be able to unblock this feature. Once I've found information I'd like to use in my document, I have a few options. I can preview the source, which brings me to the web page. I can insert the link into my document, or I can insert a citation. If I insert a link, it automatically adds the link wherever my cursor is. If I insert a citation by clicking on Cite, you'll notice that it's inserted a superscript 1. It's actually adding footnotes to my document, and if I scroll down, I will now see a footnote on that information. To change the citation style, you click on the little down arrow under your search box, and you can change your style from MLA to APA in Chicago. The citations this creates are not always perfect, but they're a great start if you have no other tool available. While we're in this box, one thing that's really important to consider is whether your students are allowed to use copyright protected images. It's strongly recommended that you have them switch this option to free to use, share, or modify even commercially. That means any images that are returned, students are allowed to use. Let's talk a minute about searching for images. You'll notice when I click on the little G next to my search box, I have the options to search for everything, images, Google Scholar, quotes, the dictionary, personal, and tables. We've done a search for everything, and we did a dictionary search. Personal search allows you to search your Google Drive to find documents. Google Scholar searches only Google Scholar for articles, which means you'll find more scholarly works there. And the images search returns only images. If you find an image you would like to use, you click and drag it into your document. You'll notice that it automatically inserts a footnote. If I scroll down, I now see 2. The one problem with this citation style is that all it does is provide the URL from where the image came, which is not proper citation, but again, it's a great start to get your students at least identifying where their information came from. That image, when I click on it, I can now change how it wraps, and I can move it around in my document. If I move it though, I will lose my footnote. Tables brings back information that I may wish to have students manipulate. The next tool we'll look at is the word count tool. This one's really easy. When you click on it, it tells you how many pages, how many words, how many characters not counting spaces, and how many characters counting spaces. It's not as robust as a word count in another program, but it is helpful. The next tool is the Translate Document tool. When I click on this, it'll create a new copy of the document translated into whichever language you choose. Google will now do its best to translate my document from English into Spanish. This could come in really handy if you have ESL or ELL students, or parents of those students who may have communications difficulties. I still have my copy of the original document available to me. The next tool I wanted to show you will come in more handy for math teachers than anyone else. If I go to Insert and Equation, Google brings up an equations editor for me. This allows me to insert many of the math symbols I might need to create worksheets for my students. If I choose the symbol, I notice it now goes into the equation editor. I'm going to zoom in a bit. I can now add my numbers. I can add Greek letters. I won't pretend to understand what all the math symbols need, but I am certain that you math teachers will know what you need. You can also insert special characters into your document. If you go to Insert and Special Characters, you'll see that many of those math symbols also appear in here. You'll find all of the special characters that you can insert into your document. You can narrow this down to those you may need. I have musical symbols and various other options. When I insert it into the document, it appears just like any other alphanumeric character. When all is said and done, Google Docs is an amazing tool for sharing things with your students. But what if you want to share your document to the world? There are 2 ways to share a document to the world. The first is in your share settings. So I click on my blue share button. You'll notice at the top here it says who has access private, only you can access. If I click on change, I now have 2 other options. I can make my document public on the web, which means that anybody on the internet can find it and access it with no sign-in required, or I can make it anyone with the link, which means that anyone who has the link to the document is able to access it. Public on the web means that if people are searching Google, they may be able to find your document. Anyone with the link means that anybody can access the document as long as they have the link. I tend to share things to anyone with the link, and then I embed my documents or link my documents from my web page. That means that those who are on my web page will be able to find it, but it is not publicly searchable from Google. So when I click anyone with the link, it now asks me what kind of access they have. Can they view it, comment on it, or can they edit it? If you give them can edit access, that means they do not need to sign in to edit the document. This may come in handy if you do not have Google Apps accounts for your students, but you want them to be able to edit. But remember, those edits will be anonymous and you won't know who is who. I'm going to leave it as Can View and click Save. When I come back to my Share menu, you'll notice at the top there's a link to share. If I copy this link and paste it into a new browser where I'm not signed in, you'll see that I can now see this document and who is in it, but I cannot make any changes to the document. You'll notice that this document, when shared in this way, still looks like a Google document, and your users have the option to make a copy and download the document. Another way I can share my work to the world is through publishing. If I click on File in the upper left-hand corner and I click Publish to the Web, I'm brought to my publishing menu. Currently, this document is not being published. I have the option to automatically republish when changes are made, and then I have the option to start publishing. What publishing a document does is it allows you to share your document in a slightly more aesthetically pleasing way so that users will feel like they're on a web page rather than in a Google Doc. If I click on Start Publishing, it prompts me to make sure I want to publish. I click OK. At any time, I can choose to stop publishing my content. I then see at the bottom of my screen two options to share the link. One is a link to the document. The other is an embed code if I'd like to embed this on a blog, a wiki, or my web page. I can also share the link using my Google+, through Gmail, Facebook, or Twitter. I'm going to take this document link, I'm going to copy it, in my new window, you'll see this is the old way with a shared link. When I paste my new published document link in, this is what my document now looks like. It doesn't always look exactly how you think it will. You'll have to make determinations on your own about how you'd like to share your documents. One benefit of this is that those footnotes that we inserted are now hyperlinked. And when you click on them, it brings you to the source at the bottom of the page. When I'm all done making changes to my publishing settings, I click Close. If I'd like to send an email to all collaborators on a document, I click on File, Email Collaborators, and I'll now have a Send Message screen where I can compose a message to my collaborators, send a copy to myself, and paste the item into the email if I wish, and I can choose which of the collaborators will receive this email. When I click Send, it's now used my Gmail to send that message out to my collaborators. Just one more way you can collaborate on documents in Google Docs.